Good afternoon and welcome to the 2020 Australian Health Accelerator Demo Day. My name is Renee Coman, the Marketing Manager for the Innovation Centre Sunshine Coast. Honestly, it's surreal to be introducing you to our Demo Day in this virtual format. But it's important for you to all know that as entrepreneurs, we've taken the COVID health crisis head on. And it's in our DNA to be adaptable and to survive against the odds. For those new to the Innovation Centre Sunshine Coast, a University of the Sunshine Coast enterprise, this is a place where innovation lives and entrepreneurs thrive. Over the next 3 hours, you will have the pleasure of listening and engaging with 15 amazing professionals, 10 of which will be pitching their innovations, followed by live Q&As facilitated by the Health Accelerator's Program Director, Tamara Mills. You will also hear from Innovation Centre alumni and Australian Health Accelerator alumni Adam Benjamin of Medifarm and Queensland's Chief Entrepreneur Leanne. We will then conclude the formalities today, but invite you all to join our cohort via various Zoom room breakout rooms between 6 p.m. and 7 p.m. Links to these rooms will be made available in the comments below, and we encourage you to all engage and leave comments throughout the event. So let's get the show underway. As leaders, our job is not to control those whom we serve, but to unleash their talent. Our first speaker for today provides leadership through unleashing talent through innovation and research at the University of the Sunshine Coast. This is done through strategic partnerships with industry, government and non-for-profit organisations. So please welcome the Innovation Centre Director and the University of the Sunshine Coast Deputy Vice-Chancellor for Research and Innovation, Professor Roland DeMarco.
Good afternoon, and I welcome everyone to the second meeting of the Australian Health Accelerator Demo Day, which of course is underway in an online environment due to the impacts of COVID-19. I hope that everyone is in good spirits and in good health under these very trying circumstances. Right up front, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the country at all of our places in our virtual meeting environment. I especially acknowledge their leaders past, present and emerging. For those of you who don't know me, as Renee has said, my name is Roland DeMarco. I'm a Director of the Innovation Centre Board, and I'm also the Deputy Vice-Chancellor of Research and Innovation at the University of the Sunshine Coast. And for those of you who don't know the nomenclature of universities, that's a fancy title for the person who's the head of research and provides stewardship and direction for research at the university. The Innovation Centre was established by USC as a not-for-profit company in 2002. Its role as a business incubator and accelerator facility is to assist entrepreneurs and innovators with tailored programs, expert mentoring and other capacity building to scale new ventures. And over a history of spanning nearly 2 decades now, it has been one of the best performing incubator accelerator programs in Australia. On behalf of the Innovation Centre team, mentors, as well as all of our AHX partners, which I will acknowledge in a moment, we are very pleased to have you at today's event. I specifically acknowledge Anton Sanker from the Sunshine Coast Health Institute and Adjunct Professor Naomi Dwyer from the Sunshine Coast Hospital and Health Service for their very strong support of the AHX program over the past 2 years. In no particular order, I will thank our partners, Impact X Health, who are engaging in program delivery today, Oz Industry, one of our funding partners at the gold funding level, Script, a silver funding partner, Redchip Lawyers, Radby Consultants, Innovate Media, the Sunshine Coast Health Panel, Innovation Centre team, the University of the Sunshine Coast and the University of the Sunshine Coast Clinical Trials Centre. The driving of an innovation environment in the health sector led to the rollout of the AHX program on the Sunshine Coast, where we're very fortunate to have one of the newest and most advanced hospitals in the world. Today's event is all about a showcasing of our Demo Day graduates and their amazing innovations. Your interest, engagement and promotion today and in the future is greatly appreciated. Health innovation, or what I refer to as new ideas applied successfully in the healthcare sector, is critically important considering the unprecedented challenges that are faced globally, and the present COVID-19 pandemic is a perfect example of how health innovation is really important and much needed. Global healthcare expenditures are expected to increase at an annual rate of 5.4%, hitting a massive level of 10 trillion United States dollars by 2022. And we are very proud to underline that our AHX innovators are already making a positive impact, saving lives and vastly improving patient wellbeing. And last, I must stress that with USC's expanding geographical footprint, we were poised to launch an AHX Moreton Bay program. However, this has been paused due to the impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic. Nevertheless, we are looking forward to working with government agencies and other regional ecosystems and entrepreneurs and innovators like those in Moreton Bay to further fuel capacity building within USC's regional communities. Thank you to everyone for your attention, and I look forward to hearing from our speakers and the AHX pitches.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. My name's Tamara Mills, and I'm the Managing Director of Impact Health and the Program Director for the Australian Health Accelerator program. And it's an absolute privilege to be here hosting the Australian Health Accelerator Virtual Demo Day. And I will shortly have the privilege to introduce to you our 10 incredible founders of some amazing health startups. But before I get to introducing them, I wanted to take a step back and first look at what does innovation mean in the context of healthcare? And you heard from Professor Rowland that it's now even more obvious that there is a need for innovation. But when we talk about innovation in healthcare, what our stakeholders are asking for is essentially more for less. So we're looking for better health outcomes, better efficiency, better quality at a lower cost and in less time. And that's exactly what our cohort is delivering. So here tonight, we'll be introducing you to these 10 startups that are at various stages in their startup journey. We have companies that join the accelerator program with just an idea, and now they're in the process of getting pilots off the ground. We had startups in the cohort at the beginning that were just in the process of getting their domestic revenue up, and now they've got the majority of their sales and customers in international markets. And we have a number of companies that have their MVPs ready to go, and others that are looking for investment to finalize their MVPs so they can get those products into the hands of their customers. And it's been an incredible journey watching these companies evolve over the last 6 months. And to give you a sense of what the AHX program looks like, it's built off the MIT Disciplined Entrepreneurship Framework. So if you go to the next slide, you'll see here that this framework is actually one of the best tested frameworks for building startups globally. And I've had the privilege over the last few years of working directly with MIT and coaching startups in the healthcare space, animal health, patient health, from all over the world, from the US through to the Middle East, utilizing this exact process. And this is the framework that we've been able to bring to the Australian Health Accelerator program, providing a very specific health lens on the essential foundations of building a startup in any sector. So we go back right back to the foundations of really delving into what is the problem, what is the pain point that these founders are looking to solve, going out into the market and validating that, and building all the way up to putting the business model in place. In the context of the healthcare sector, which is often quite difficult because of the complexities around who's actually benefiting from the product and who's paying for it. And this program spends a large amount of time supporting each of the founders in navigating the difficulties and challenges in accessing the payers and building the strategies to ensure that the innovations that they're bringing to market will be paid for in the end. And the value proposition is clear to all stakeholders in that value chain. And if we go to the next slide, you'll see that on top of the MIT Disciplined Entrepreneurship Framework, we focus a lot on how to build minimum viable products in the health sector. And as many of you in the audience will know, building a startup in the health sector is unlike building any other tech startup. We have significant regulatory hurdles and compliance requirements to meet, as is understood. We're working and dealing with patient lives. So we have considerations around the FDA, TGA, quality compliance, and then on the market access side, we're looking at, which payer is paying for this. Is it Medicare? Is it a private insurer? And in this program, we don't just focus on the Australian market, we focus also on global markets. And we already have a number of companies in our cohort that are in the US market and beyond. And there's a large amount of our program that is focused on looking at how we can help these founders scale their businesses, both domestically and internationally, in the context of how do you source capital for that, and making sure that the founders that are in the position today to raise capital or need to be in a position to raise capital in the future go through a very thorough investor readiness program so that it's clear and there are no or very little surprises around what investors want and expect when you're going out to raise capital, either pre-seed, seed, and Series A and beyond. So if you go through to the next slide, you'll see that the Australian Health Accelerator program is very much workshop driven. We don't just bring in speakers to speak at the founders and the startups. All of our sessions are predominantly workshops that are hands-on and expert-led. So all of the frameworks that we go through on the MIT Disciplined Entrepreneurship side, right through to investor readiness and market access, we're working hands-on with the founders during the program to apply all of these frameworks and knowledge directly to their startups, so that by the end of the program, they have a portfolio of information, documentation, the business plans, everything that they need to move on to those next steps in their journey. And we are extremely fortunate to have, alongside myself and my colleague Zoe Savic, who is also a startup founder, many of the health startup community give back to supporting founders that are building businesses in health innovation. And here you'll see just a small snapshot of the many mentors and experts that have given their time to work one-on-one with the founders and building out their value propositions and building their pitches and figuring out how to approach investors. And we're also fortunate to have a number of our cohort from the first round of Australian Health Accelerator come back and give back to our startups. Now, before I move on to introduce you to the first founder for tonight, I want to take a step back and look at what the first cohort for the Australian Health Accelerator has achieved. We had 10 companies in the first accelerator, which ran over 2018-2019, and we are extremely happy to say that all of these companies are still up and running today. We have half of those companies that have gone out and raised capital. These companies have generated 25 jobs for Queensland so far. And we're very fortunate to have with us today one of the founders from the first cohort. And I'd like to introduce the co-founder of MediPharm, Adam Benjamin, to talk to you about his experience in the program and the progress and traction they've made over the last 12 months.
So thank you for that lovely introduction, and very nice to join you today. Welcome to MediPharm. Welcome to our cultivation and production centre here on the beautiful Sunshine Coast, where we call it home. Hopefully you do too. We're proud to have graduated as one of the first cohorts, or the first cohort with the AHX program, which was really excellent, very innovative. I guess in the true definition of the Innovation Centre, that's what they do and that's what they do best. And it's great to see the next cohorts coming through. I wish you all the best. And also I'd like to update you where MediFarm is now since graduating, and perhaps talk a little bit specifically about what you can see behind me and how we're here to help as many Australian patients and then, of course, international patients as we can. We're very privileged to have been the first licensed medical cannabis company in Australia. And perhaps for some of you, you've heard something about medical cannabis, but really you only need to look back in the history books. Prior to 1937, medical cannabis was the #1 prescription all throughout Australia, throughout Europe, throughout America. So really we're at the right place, the right time in history to bring this back into mainstream medicine. So since graduating, you can see behind me actually this crop, specifically bred for decades now with our partners in Israel for PTSD. So for post-traumatic stress disorder patients who have this, be they our military, our veterans, our first responders, those people who do a great service to Australia and I believe uphold and stand for our values. I also believe that if they need help, we as a company should be able to do so. And in the PTSD space, we have excellent research over quite some time now internationally that this specific genetics that you can see behind me is helping tens of thousands of patients. So we've developed what you can see, a huge greenhouse here. We have the ability with just what you can see behind me to help thousands of patients, actually. So this is very powerful medicine. We don't say this is for everybody, but if you're the right patient, the right treatment, particularly with PTSD. So I feel quite honoured. I guess as some of you might imagine in the cannabinoid medicine space, it's quite a complex industry, and it's not just about growing plants, but it is also about growing that medicine that starts from the beginning and then ends up in a manufactured finished product that doctors then write scripts for and go throughout pharmacies. So part of that supply chain, as you can see here, is the growing, but we've also further enhanced our distribution model, our supply model within Australia. We're very fortunate that Australia has the best laws, best being federal, and best meaning that not only can we help Aussie patients, but we're in really the right country to be able to export to help international patients. So really that's us. Here we have what might look like just a greenhouse grow facility. We've further been able to develop our control mechanisms here. So it's very important that the standard of production is a fancy word, the pharmacovigilance, the quality of medicine is identical, obviously, with every bottle that we produce. So this particular crop will be destined to help our veterans amongst other people, perhaps who need assistance with treating PTSD. We are looking forward to doing a big trial later this year. So for any of you who might be interested, please get involved or be in touch with MediFarm, our helpline, help@medifarm.com.au. We're very happy to not only help you, but if your doctor requires some support, we'd like to be able to do that as well. But really, we're very proud and we're a privileged company that we just happen to be at the right place. This is where good agriculture on the Sunshine Coast meets good healthcare on the Sunshine Coast, which is what really medical cannabis is about in the supply side of things. So thank you all very much for allowing me 5 minutes or so. We gained so much from the AHX program. It was wonderful, a really great mechanism to catapult us to the next level. So again, thank you for all being involved, and I wish you all the very best.
So thank you, Adam, for sharing that experience and journey. And I know why you're all online tonight. You're here to hear from the startups, and we're going to move straight into that. I'd like to introduce our first founder for this afternoon, Neeraj, the founder of Cogniant. Neeraj is a programmer turned data scientist who has a love and fascination for data. He has worked in large multinational health companies and in startups for the last 9 years. And please welcome him as he joins us to talk to you about Cogniant.
Hi, I'm Neeraj from Cogniant. Meet Rahul. Few years ago, he got diagnosed with bipolar disorder. He took therapy and medication, but he really struggled. It not only took a toll on him, but on all of his family. Furthermore, his clinicians didn't have an easy overview of tracking his health outcomes outside of the clinics. And I would know because I'm his brother. Current methods of helping people only work after someone goes at emergencies. There had to be a better way of helping people before they showed up at emergencies, which is why I started Cogniant. We predict and manage mood disorders such as depression, anxiety, and bipolar disorder. But how can you predict a mood disorder before it happens? Well, who knows you better than you yourself or your family? Your smartphone does. It knows when you sleep, get up, go to work, miss work, or where you're at all the time. It tracks everything and never forgets. At Cogniant, we developed a method of detecting symptomatic changes in an individual using smartphone data alone, using which we are able to predict incidences of relapse or depression ahead of time. We have patented this method. It's a mobile platform which patients install after they leave the clinics to track their mental well-being, measure their mental health, and to notify caregivers like me in case I need to worry about anything. It also tracks them continuously and is able to predict incidences of relapses and alert the care team or case managers ahead of time so that they can intervene early and bring help early to the patients. With 450 million patients diagnosed with depression worldwide and 320,000 clinician population helping them, we have more than $2.4 billion market opportunity. Our business model is enterprise subscription, and we charge between $50 to $1,000 a month per enterprise per clinician. We're starting with clinicians first, but we'll slowly approach to insurers and pharma for distribution. Since our launch, we have signed up 27 clinicians in Australia and Singapore, 5 hospitals and clinics, and we have 2 IRB-approved clinical trials underway, through which we have booked revenues of $210,000 just this year. We have a pipeline of $1.2 million. Using Cogniant, clinicians have seen to reduce their consultation time by 40%. They are instead using this time to improve their patient relationships. Our clinicians use us 100% every single week. By reducing avoidable ED visits and readmission rates, we have potential cost savings of $2.5 million per hospital per year. And 3 of our 4 of our users, they find us easy to use and feel empowered by using our platform. I am Neeraj, CTO, co-founder of Cogniant. I've exited a startup before and led 20 engineers in Accenture. My co-founder Maureen is enterprise sales professional who has done multi-million-dollar deals working for consulting companies. We have a strong team of data scientists, clinical experts, and information security experts who have worked with the likes of Harvard, Stanford, and PayPal. Our roadmap in next 24 months is to complete our clinical trials, generate the clinical evidence, get us through the regulatory pathway of TGA and FDA clearance, and take Cogniant to $1 million in ARR in next 24 months. Our ask today is $750,000 to get Cogniant to $1 million in ARR in next 24 months by building our product and marketing teams. We're also looking actively for clinical trial partners, and if you'd like to be part of our journey, please come talk to us. Thank you.
Well done, Neeraj. That was fantastic. Now, we do have a couple of questions from the audience, but I want to tell the audience, if you're out there listening, don't be shy. Post any questions that you have online, and we'll be asking the founders the most important questions. So, Neeraj, are you able to talk to us a little bit about how you manage patient privacy and the data?
Yeah, so when we started Cogniant, patient privacy is at heart of our solution. Patient is the owner of their own data, and they have full control over who gets to see or access their data for their care. So we have built a solution around that. And in terms of data protection and privacy, we have used state-of-the-art encryption, which is and we are compliant with Australian privacy law and HIPAA laws in US.
Fantastic. And another question was around your exit strategy. Do you have an exit strategy in mind for Cogniant?
In terms of Cogniant's growth, we want to make it as big as possible, and we will take our investors on this journey with us, and they will have multiple opportunities to exit along the way. But in reality, we want to make Cogniant widely used and just bring topic of mental health part of everyone's discussions, not just in Australia but worldwide.
Fantastic. And another question here is, what has been the feedback from patients in relation to the monitoring?
So it's been great, and one of the positive what we have seen so far is patients are eager to use. There are this subset of patients who are really motivated for recovery actually like this feedback from the clinicians, because that positive reinforcement has shown to improve their compliance rate, and that is a significant improvement over the baseline of what we used to see once the patient left the clinic. Nobody really checked up on them, and they were really left on their own to figure out how to deal with their day-to-day life.
Fantastic. Now, we've run out of time for questions for Neeraj, but we will be hosting virtual networking following the pitches, where each of the founders will have their own Zoom room that you can join later this afternoon, evening. So thank you, Neeraj.
Thank you.
Now, I have the pleasure of introducing our next founder for this afternoon. I'd like to introduce to you Leanne Butterworth. Leanne is a mother of two, a George Alexander Foundation Scholar, QT Foundry Prize winner, and a member of the New Lambda Mu International Honor Society. She has created her social enterprise, Lose Your Mind Empathy Training, after her own experience with postnatal depression. Please welcome Leanne Butterworth to talk to you tonight about Lose Your Mind Empathy Training.
Hey everybody, my name's Leanne Butterworth. Welcome to Lose Your Mind Empathy Training. I'd like you to think of your worst boss ever. Think about what they said and what they did and how you felt as a response. And did your behavior change? Did you take more days off? Did you lose motivation? Maybe you even left the company. How do you think about that company now? So my guess is they weren't a horrible person who was beyond help, but they probably lacked compassionate empathy and emotional intelligence. Now, just a quick definition. Compassionate empathy is the ability to share and understand the feelings of another person and respond appropriately. Now, historically, many bosses didn't even believe that feelings belonged at work, so they had no idea how to respond appropriately. Now, if you get this right, 93% of employees say that they are likely to stay with an empathetic employer. So that has implications for your bottom line, brand reputation, the mental health culture of your organization, as well as client and customer outcomes. Now, the trouble is I can't just tell you to be empathetic. It's not something I can teach you on a PowerPoint slide. So what we've done at Lose Your Mind Empathy Training is we use experiential learning. So sometimes that's using virtual reality, but we combine it with mental health literacy, emotional engagement and emotional activities, and then fun, memorable, practical skills so that you can really harness the positive power of empathy. So at Lose Your Mind Empathy Training, we believe that leaders are essential in enhancing the mental health culture of both organisations and communities. And a recent survey showed that 72% of CEOs say that the state of empathy needs to evolve, but the majority of those had no idea how to do it. In the community, 20% of Australians struggle with their mental health in any given year. And unfortunately, 54% of those never seek treatment, and that's largely due to stigma and discrimination. So, Lose Your Mind Empathy Training combines active, passive, and social arms to our business. Actively, we get out there and we give presentations in workshops. Now, that can either be using our staff or we can train up your staff to deliver our content. We've got our new Empathy First online training course. We've got the Empathy podcast. We've also got interest from companies in the USA and Dubai looking to use and distribute our virtual reality content. We're also planning to engage training organisations who can deliver our content on our behalf. Now, being a social enterprise, our aim is to offer Lose Your Mind Empathy Training free to community groups as well. So Lose Your Mind Empathy Training are the only ones who are really focusing on the positive power of empathy, and the only ones who are combining experiential learning and emotional activities, which means that we can offer it in a time and cost-effective manner. We've conducted workshops for GP Training Queensland, Westpac and Allianz, and last year we went to Iowa to conduct workshops for Capstone Mental Health. So how do we know that this works? Well, we measure. And 6 months after the Iowa workshops, 96% of participants reported having greater empathy for those struggling with their mental health, and 84% said that they had better listening and communication skills. So my wonderful advisors are Dr. Jennifer Wilson, who is a clinical psychologist, and Zoe Staples, who is a marketing consultant. So today we seek your support. We're looking for C-suite pilot opportunities to really enhance our organisational impact measurement. We're looking for corporate partnerships for our online training course as well as our podcast. And we'd really like to start building relationships with investors now. So if you believe in the positive power of empathy, I'd love to speak to you. Our goal here at Lose Your Mind Empathy Training is to create more effective, happier workplaces and save lives through empathy. Thank you very much. My name's Leanne Butterworth. That was Lose Your Mind Empathy Training.
Thanks so much, Leanne. Now, another call out to the audience. If you do have questions for Leanne, now is the time to post them. Leanne, where do you see Lose Your Mind Empathy Training going next? What's on the cards for you in this business?
Ultimately, what we'd like to do is have it become and have empathy training become standard practice. So with onboarding and workplace training, you learn how to have empathy for your colleagues and your clients and your friends and your family, and it just becomes standard practice. So rolling out our training is kind of just a given. You learn how to be empathetic, how to listen with love and kindness and make those around you feel heard.
And what is your driver for Lose Your Mind Empathy Training?
Like you said in the biography, I had postnatal depression, but it was very late diagnosed. And the reason I think that it was really late diagnosed is because of a lack of understanding of and empathy of the people around me, so and within myself. So I really want to stamp that out. I want everybody to be able to identify early symptoms and then respond with love and kindness, and really learn to listen to get people help earlier in a compassionate way.
And if you can sum up who your ideal corporate partner is for the upcoming pilots, how would you describe them? Who should reach out to you?
I think any business who really understands that creating connections and relationships with clients and colleagues and even management and management down to colleagues should reach out to try to get the message out and to build that mental health culture within their own organisation. So if you really see gaps and you're doing a lot of intellectual training, it's time to move over to the emotional side and really engage and build relationships in with your stakeholders.
Fantastic. Thank you, Leanne. And for those in the audience wanting to connect and speak with Leanne after the pitches, stick around and you'll be able to take part in some virtual networking and ask as many questions as you like. But for now, I am going to introduce you to our next founder for this afternoon, Casey Pfluger. Now, Casey knows firsthand the pains of managing a neurological disorder through day life, and he has found inspiration for building his company, Cortex EEG, through the work that he's doing to support his daughter. I'd like to introduce now Casey from Cortex to share his story with you.
Hi, my name's Casey and I'm the founder of Cortex Brainwave Technologies, and we're building technology that changes minds. This is my daughter Ingrid, and I love her more than anything in the world, and I would do anything to make her life more easy. My daughter struggles with autism and ADHD, which make it very difficult to do her schoolwork and her homework. She has issues with memory, concentration, recall, and staying on task. And I know exactly how it feels to have those kind of issues because I have autism and ADHD myself. Now, I'm an ex-medical researcher, and during my medical research career, I came across a therapy called neurofeedback therapy, which has been shown to be very effective in autism, ADHD, and traumatic brain injury. And all of these conditions share some very similar issues of memory, concentration, emotional regulation, and learning disability. In actual fact, ADHD has now been recognised globally as of November last year as an official clinical therapy for ADHD, and other conditions are rapidly following along that track. When I talk to people and explored the landscape myself, I found that the current available therapy is quite expensive, at about $6,000 per course of therapy. It's both uncomfortable and difficult to set up, which means that it can only be set up in a therapy setting, and the technology limits the therapeutic outcomes. The Cortex headset is a $1,000 outright purchase or a $70 per month rental purchase, and the therapy can be done at home. And these are the things that are really asked for by the people that we've talked to that are looking for the same kind of thing that I was. And they're willing to purchase at these prices. I knew that we needed to develop technology that would enhance therapeutic outcomes, and to do this, we had to improve the signal quality and reduce signal interference. In order to do that, we switched from originally being an EEG system, which is an electrically based measurement of brain signals that come through the skull and out to the surface of the skin, to a near-infrared system, which actually allows us to have a much less interference, a faster signal, and much improved therapeutic outcomes through better games for our users. The Cortex headset measures brain activity and then translates that into action on a game. And the game is the therapy. In Australia, the market is estimated at $600 million for autism, traumatic brain injury, and ADHD combined. And we are positioning Cortex as a low cost and high ease of use device because that's what our users are looking for, and also because we want as many people to be able to access this device and therapy as possible. Our future markets are quite varied, and we're very excited to move into them as we expand out of the disability section. This is our Cortex team, and in here we have myself, who has a biological science and neuroscience background, and we have an electrical engineer, a business and marketing specialist, as well as mentors with a large amount of experience in startup generation. Our ask is for 200k seed funding to complete the industrial design and pilot trials, and we'd be very interested in talking to you about our project. Thank you for listening, and with your help, we'll change minds.
Thank you, Casey. Now, Casey, what has the response from your prospective customers been when you've shown this technology to them?
They've been absolutely blown away because they've been looking for something they can do at home, as well as a lot of them have done neurofeedback before and had major issues with, for example, the sensations of the gel on their head, or the fact that they've got to go to a session over and over and over again rather than being able to stay at home and do it. So yeah, a lot of our ideas have led directly from these conversations, and yeah, it's really encouraging to see them getting so excited.
And a question from the audience has just come through. Is value in the brain data collected from the device?
There is potential value in the brain data collected from the device because it's going to be higher density image data, basically image data of the brain. It can be used as a research tool or for understanding brain disorders, but we want to make sure that we do it ethically with our users.
Mm-hmm. And just for the benefit of those in the audience that aren't familiar with neurofeedback, are you able to explain briefly how does playing games actually help in a therapeutic way with children that have ADHD?
Well, particularly for ADHD, they need something that engages their interest. And I know that my daughter just absolutely focuses on a game, whereas she can't focus on many other things. And neurofeedback's pretty unique in the fact that based on the brain firing data that you get initially, you can tune the game so that it improves brain function. And I think that's really awesome.
That's very exciting. And for anyone in the audience that wants to connect with Casey after the pictures, please stick around and join him for the virtual networking. Thank you, Casey.
Thanks.
And now I will introduce you to our next founders for tonight. The founders of Health Rocket, Charlie and Emma Price. They actually met on the Sunshine Coast 15 years ago while studying fitness together. And they have since traveled the world, lived in 20 different countries, and they are parents, 2 kids of their own. And if there's any parents in the audience, I think you're going to be very excited to hear about the company that Charlie and Emma are building. So please welcome Emma to share with you Health Rocket.
I'm sure many parents out there would agree with me when I say that life before kids is much different to life after kids.
Say that again. Say that thing about Saturday being free. No commitments.
I had nothing to do on Saturday.
And then, like, on Saturday morning, like, how did you wake up?
What do you mean?
Well, like, what woke you up and at what time on Saturday morning?
When I had enough sleep and I was bored of lying in my bed.
Oh, sweet Jesus.
Hi, my name is Emma Price and I'm the co-founder of Health Rocket along with my husband Charlie. We, like many parents out there, know exactly how difficult it can be when juggling working life and young children. Planning meals, doing the groceries, keeping the house clean, educating your kids, inspiring them, engaging them, and somehow trying not to let on how completely overwhelmed we often feel. That to-do list can feel like it's never ending. At Health Rocket, we help busy parents create more free time to do the things they want to be doing. We offer a fully customised personal concierge service whereby families receive dedicated one-on-one support from a personal assistant who's there to take care of all the admin tasks that simply don't need to be done by the parents themselves, such as meal planning and online grocery shopping and making appointments. Through our primary market research, we were able to connect with over 150 families, and we found the number one thing that these busy parents really wanted to do if they had more time was actually focus on their health and well-being. So with this in mind, we've included the option for families to have access to their own personal coach to help them achieve their health and well-being goals and really get the most out of our service. Through our own experience and after talking with these families, we found it's really easy to feel isolated throughout the journey of juggling parenting and working life. This is why we want to be able to connect these people through our online community, to offer them a place to share their journey and their success stories. Unlike other fragmented solutions out there, we want our clients to feel supported when and where they need it most, and at Health Rocket, we aim to deliver this through human connection. So what does this look like? Health Rocket membership starts at $99 a week and provides busy families with access to all that our personal concierge service delivers, as well as the opportunity to be a part of our community. Families then have the option to upgrade their membership to also include coaching and online training. In Australia, there are 1.9 million working families with kids under the age of 15. To prove our concept, we are looking to launch a pilot program that we're in the early stages of securing. For this program, we're looking to initially work with 392,000 families with kids under the age of 4, because we know this can often be the most difficult time for parents, and these clients also have the longest lifetime value. By targeting busy parents initially through social media, aged between 25 and 45, working full-time, living in metropolitan areas, and earning more than $150,000 per household, we anticipate we'll be able to have close to 8,000 members generating $70 million in annual revenue by year 5. Right now, our focus is on gaining traction, working with our pilot group and gaining valuable feedback in order to refine the services we have on offer. We'll be seeking investment within the next 6 months with a view to bringing on the talent required to scale the business. We're looking to save parents time and help them to better their physical and mental health and well-being. There are many services out there that contribute to better health or help to save time, but nothing that really encompasses both in a simple package that also focuses on the overall journey to better utilise time in order to achieve better health. There are families, however, who have teams of people supporting them. They have personal chefs, personal trainers, personal shoppers. This is where we see Health Rocket positioned from a competitive standpoint. Only the client doesn't need to build the team, we do. Our team consists of Charlie, who has a background in health and wellness and has successfully run a global wellness brand where he was able to increase the profit by 50% within 12 months. They were also awarded the highest feedback scores in the world. My background is in sales and marketing, particularly within the natural health industry. I'm also a qualified naturopath and nutritionist. And Mike has also come from sales and marketing, where he has led multi-billion-dollar businesses such as Parmalat and Nestle. We think there are many people out there who would greatly benefit from what we are offering. If you yourself or someone you know wants more free time to better their health and well-being, we would love for you to reach out and contact us at healthrocket.com.au. Thanks for your time and enjoy your night.
So, Charlie and Emma, thank you. And I can tell everyone in the audience that ever since meeting Emma and Charlie, I need Health Rocket in my life with managing my 2 little kids. So if you have any questions in the audience, feel free to post. One of the questions that I've received is, how do you intend to allocate the investment that you're seeking, and what will that enable you to achieve?
Yeah, great question. So we'd be looking to bring on someone to head up finance as well as sales and marketing, and then we'd also be looking to bring on someone for people and culture as well as recruitment. We recognise that it's really important to bring on the right people from the beginning and build a really good culture. And lastly, we'd be looking to bring on someone to head up customer experience. and to really build on that human connection that is essentially the core of our business.
Fantastic. And another question from the audience is around, is there solid data on the customer willingness to pay for Health Rocket services?
Yeah, look, we've identified through our primary market research that there's a few different avenues, but we've spoken to all the families. We've spoken to 150 families. They are willing to pay for this sort of service. We've also identified that 15% of people are actually spending more than $200 a week due to having a lack of time to plan on things like eating out, wasting groceries. So there's also some cost savings there. But essentially everyone we've spoken to is quite keen to experience the product, and we've got a money back guarantee as well.
Fantastic. And what is your strategy around diversifying revenue streams moving forward?
So we've identified that the corporate professional market's also another good market for us. They're low on time, they want to improve their health. So we'll look to diversify in that area. Through talking to the families, we found they felt quite isolated, so we're going to have workshops and retreats where we can get them together to do events. And 1 in 4 people actually spending more than 14 hours on meal preparation. So we think we'll be able to offer some sort of chef service. And the number 2 thing people actually wanted to do if they had more time was a bit of self-care, particularly the mums. So mobile health, mobile massage, beauty treatments and the like, we'll look to expand into that area. And we'll also look to enhance our user experience with artificial intelligence while maintaining our human connection. We still want to be there when they need us on the phone or however they want to communicate. But we've identified that if we do that, we'll reduce costs to the business as well as to our clients.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Charlie and Emma. For anyone in the audience that would like to stick around and ask Charlie and Emma questions after the pitches, please join them in their virtual networking room. And right now, I would like to introduce to you our next founder for this evening, the founder of Genesis Airways, Greg. Greg has had a large amount of experience in building, running and exiting a number of companies. His family and he left Zimbabwe for Australian shores in 2002, where he spent 13 years building a global distribution business that he successfully exited in 2016. Genesis Airways Innovations is the next chapter in the life of a serial startup enthusiast. He loves fishing and he's here to talk to you this afternoon about Genesis Airways. Please welcome Greg.
Welcome to Genesis Airway Innovations. We specialize in the design and production of airway management devices used during general anesthesia. Liz is a private dental surgeon specializing in extractions and cosmetics under general anesthesia, and typically does 6 procedures a day, taking an average of 1 hour for each procedure, including preparation, anesthesia, and recovery. Anaesthetists working with Liz would prefer to intubate patients using a device called a laryngeal mask airway. But to prevent the tube sitting in the mouth, dental patients are often intubated using a nasal endotracheal tube. Nasal endotracheal intubation has 7 identified complications, the most common being epistaxis, or better known as nosebleeds. Using the nasal endotracheal tube adds an average of 10 minutes onto each of Liz's dental procedures, or an hour a day, and often pushes her schedule back, causing inconvenience to patients and her team. The Genesis nasolaryngeo mask airway, the first of its kind to market, solves this problem with an innovative exchange process that is simple, safe, and secure. Evidence-based studies have shown that the Genesis LMA saves time, delivers better outcomes for patients, and enables Liz to stick to her appointment schedule. The time saved allows for 1 additional patient per day, which adds over $20,000 a month to the bottom line of Liz's private dental surgery. Liz now only works with anaesthetists who use the Genesis LMA. The Genesis LMA is one of 9 devices in our current range of carefully designed products to improve patient outcome and efficacy during and after anesthesia. Each device has a specific application supported by multiple evidence-based studies. All our devices are unique and are genuine first-to-market products. All Genesis devices are single-use products, come in multiple sizes. All products are modifications of devices that are used daily and in large numbers. We have intellectual property protection, and we're on the Australian Register for Therapeutic Goods. There are 1.2 million general anaesthetics carried out in Australia every year. The total addressable market in Australia for our devices is estimated at $2.8 million per annum, based on our current end-user pricing structure. But when we look at the bigger picture, Australia is just the beginning. If we add the USA, EU, and UK, the market value balloons to 131 million and globally exceeds 300 million a year. Our business model is based on rapid and aggressive expansion by identifying and engaging with local and international distribution partners. There has been very little genuine innovation in airway management in the past 20 years, so distributors who currently sell similar devices would relish the prospect of taking our products to this large but specialized global market. Our focus right now is to gain traction in Australia through pilot projects, direct sales, and developing a solid distribution network. Then we can start looking expansion into other regions. Genesis Airway Innovations Private Limited is a startup company with 2 founding members. Vernon Vivian is an experienced GP anaesthetist who still practices on the Sunshine Coast. I'm Greg Murray, and I'm an experienced business owner and manager and have been involved in a number of successful startups. In 6 to 12 months from now, we'll be looking for investors who want to join our globally expanding business. Our existing seed funding will get us off the ground in Australia, but to scale internationally, we'll soon be looking for investment for regulatory compliance, marketing, payroll, international IP protection, and inventory. So let's start a conversation now, and thank you for your time.
Thanks, Greg. They were incredible devices, and one of the questions that the audience has is, are those devices available today? Can they get their hands on them?
Tomorrow, not yet. We're pretty close. We were planning at this stage to have them, but due to a few minor production issues compounded by the COVID crisis, has set us back a couple of months, to be honest. They are being made in China by a well-established manufacturer there, but we're on track to have samples by the middle of June, and we'll have product to sell by the end of July.
Fantastic. And what level of investment are you looking for future expansion?
We'd be looking in the region of $250,000. We'll call it $250,000. It's a little hard to say precisely what it'll be because as we roll out our Australian business, there'll be small variables and things like intellectual property costs, regulatory costs, but $250,000 is the figure that we're looking at.
Fantastic. And I know that you're focusing on Australia right now, but what market is next? What's your expansion plan internationally?
Unless we are forced through regulations to change our strategy, we have to be adaptable. Our plan is the USA. It's definitely the biggest single market. It's enormous for us. And as soon as we can get in there, so to speak, we'll take that opportunity as quickly as possible.
Fantastic. Thank you, Greg. And for anyone in the audience that wants to connect with Greg after the pictures, please join him in his Zoom room for some virtual networking. And I have the pleasure of introducing to you next our next pitch for tonight, MyHealthTrip's founder, Shauna. So Shauna joined the AHX program with a consumer problem and an idea on how it could be solved using a digital health platform. She now has a pilot product ready to roll out and test. Shauna came to the Sunshine Coast from Canada for its climate and to complete an MBA program at USC. Today, she's excited to talk to you about her pilot project, which helps connect parents to a trusted network of healthcare providers. Please welcome Shauna to talk about MyHealthTrip.
Welcome. My name is Shauna Fjaagesund. I'm the founder of MyHealthTrip, a medical facilitation company based on the Sunshine Coast. Meet Sally. She lives in Brisbane. 2 of her kids have been diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. Sally is frustrated. She wants to do more for her kids. She believes that early intervention now will have the greatest positive impact later in her child's lives. Autism is a lifelong neurological condition. Regular, everyday human interaction can be difficult, and communication development is often impacted. Common challenges kids with autism face are anxiety disorder, which can include social phobias, excessive worry, meltdowns, and oppositional defiance. Often they are resistant to everyday changes, and there's an increased risk of being bullied in school. Evidence suggests that the greatest opportunity for gain and positive outcomes are through a customized treatment plan. However, Sally is not alone. Across Australia, there are 83,700 young people under the age of 20 who are diagnosed annually with autism. 80% of informal carers are mums just like Sally. Like many mums, Sally is driven to give her kids the best possible outcomes in life. However, she's uncertain what healthcare providers are safe. For example, what are their hygienic standards? And what combination of interventions work the best for autism? There's a lot of information online and in the news. Much of it is not useful. Sally is starting to feel tired and unsupported by our health and government systems. Sally feels she needs a holiday and better self-care to ensure that she can be there for her kids long term. MyHealthTrip can help Sally by providing an easy-to-access, safe, trusted network of health providers who specialize in autism on the Sunshine Coast. We can offer funding guidance for NDIS and early super access, as well as provide knowledges such as differences in regional safety ratings, as well as the availability of specialized services, evidence-based and evidence-informed, that work best for autism, availability services such as wait times, and feedback such as patient outcomes and patient satisfaction. What makes our service different than case management is that we can also offer Sally a family vacation with a medical purpose, offering additional health and well-being benefits and a high level of discreetness and privacy for Sally's family. How does MyHealthTrip work? Sally uses our platform to book a free 20-minute discovery session with one of our consultants. Based on the information presented, MyHealthTrip will match Sally to safe, trusted medical providers on the Sunshine Coast. These providers are highly rated clinicians and allied health professionals, but they are also educators and alternative therapies, which provide evidence-based and evidence-informed services to help children with autism. The VIP concierge service also takes the hassle and stress out of booking appointments and arranging complementary services such as accommodations, transport, recreation, and childcare for consumers. The majority of MyHealthTrip consumers are expected to access basic matching services. This package gives mums like Sally knowledge of available options and reassurance of safety through regular reporting from engagement through our providers and feedback from patient outcomes and satisfaction scores. Basic package consumers have the option of an add-on VIP concierge service, in which our professional consultants are there every step of the way. If consumers are worried about resources, we also have a no-risk financing add-on to help people navigate through available funding options. MyHealthTrip also offers a tier flat fee subscription service to its trusted network of providers. These different packages offer increasing levels of service to showcase and promote services, helping providers attract quality clients who have financial ability to provide more support to their autistic kids. For example, the silver package includes an initial business listing and a safety and quality assessment. The next tier up, gold, includes the development of report cards for selected services and MyHealthTrip branding. Currently, as of May 2020, we're working on our first pilot on the Sunshine Coast. We're asking you today to join our trusted medical provider network. This provides opportunity for those who are passionate about helping kids with autism to collaborate with a wider range of services outside of traditional health referral networks. Be part of a virtual integrative medicine network, which focuses on patient outcomes and customized treatment plans unique to the person and family. You can also be part of an initiative that promotes and showcases the Sunshine Coast as a domestic medical tourism destination with a total addressable market in Australia of $30 million. Thank you for taking the time to embrace our virtual demo day network. I invite you to contact us to learn more about MyHealthTrip, where safety and positive patient outcomes are a priority.
Thank you, Shauna. I was wondering, can you tell the audience a little bit more about the types of organisations that you're looking to take part in your pilot program that's coming up?
Actually, that is a great question. We are looking for a variety of providers, so not just your traditional providers such as your clinicians, your allied health professionals. We're also looking for evidence-based and evidence-informed interventions that work well in the autism space. But most importantly, we're looking for people who want to achieve better patient outcomes, as well as looking at a family-centric plan, as well as care for the carer.
And what type of consumers do you believe will need and want to use the HealthTrip services?
Well, my initial market research demonstrated that they would be people that have the resources to pay for a lot of these services. Some may have NDIS plans, however, they will be people that have the ability to go beyond that government funding, as well as if people would like access to their super. There are certain conditions in which you can access it to help pay for these type of therapies. But basically, we are looking for individuals that want a high-quality service, very safe locations for their children, and they're looking for really important outcomes in those important developmental stages so that their kids have the best chance is once they've grown up and they're later in their lives.
And how will your platform create your reassurance that the providers within your network are trusted and will provide a high quality of service, particularly to those parents who may have children that they're looking for, potential alternative therapies for?
It's important that the interventions are evidence-based and evidence-informed, as well as the actual locations have report cards. There's different safety ratings when you go to different parts of the country as well as internationally, and it's important to find a way to present this information to give those parents reassurance, as well as little things like, when you come on site beforehand, just some advanced information of what to expect in terms of things that may be sensory issues and other things with your children.
Fantastic. And for those of you in the audience that would like to connect with Shauna after the pictures, please keep an eye out in the comments for her virtual networking room and make sure that you connect with her there. Now, I would like to introduce our next founder for this evening, Dr. Christopher Poole. He is a physicist with a background in experimental radiotherapy and software in medicine. He has worked at various universities and hospitals across Australia, has published numerous papers in the field of medical physics, and now he runs his own business, developing new technologies to make sure that we are all safe around radiation. So please welcome Chris to talk to you this evening about radiation analytics.
Before I start, you should know that you're being exposed to radiation right now. What? Yeah. Where's it coming from? Concrete, outer space, food, everywhere. Anything. That's the world we live in. But it's not a problem. Well, we're pretty sure it's not a problem. That's the thing with ionizing radiation. Individually, we're totally fine getting occasional low doses from X-rays, and we're tolerant even of high doses from radiotherapy. But if you keep on getting a really small amount extra every day, all of a sudden it's bad for you, especially if we take on a population or public health viewpoint. We don't know where the limit is either. There might be no limit. We just don't know. There's probably no way of knowing. It's people around radiation occupationally that can most easily get that extra, chronic, low-dose exposure. Dentists that don't close the door when they're x-raying your molars, or clinicians treating in the fluoroscopy suite every day and probably hanging around the beam for a bit too long. But it's not that low doses of radiation are inherently dangerous. The problem is that when we know it's a low dose, we tend to ignore it a bit and then endure chronic exposure over a career or a lifetime. That's bad. But it comes about because us humans don't have any intuitive sense for the behaviour of radiation and how its effects can accumulate. We can't feel it and we can't see it. Shielding Studio lets you see it. It's built on the technology that I've developed to satisfy my consulting clients in designing radiation shielding to make imaging equipment safe. Now you can use it to calculate the impact of low doses in your workplace from X-rays to radioactive material. For those clinicians standing next to an X-ray C-arm or near to radioactive nuclear medicine patients. It works on a laptop and produces results in a few minutes as well. It complements existing radiation protection approaches like radiation monitoring badges, for example, really nicely. Current approaches don't tell you where the danger is right away, but they do attempt to retrospectively reconstruct any previous high exposure incidents. I can show you where the danger is right now. Okay, so now you can see radiation interacting in your workplace, and you can decide on how it affects you and your behaviour. Shielding Studio enables you to make informed decisions, develop situational awareness when you're around radiation, and improve procedures by including graphical dose maps and quantified dose data. This is the true power of our technology. You don't need to be an expert to see that you shouldn't be standing in the red zone. Buy a license and Shielding Studio runs on an ordinary computer. If you want higher fidelity results in a shorter amount of time, calculations can even be accelerated in the cloud. This pay-per-use model opens up radiation simulation to anyone. It's not just limited to academics with supercomputers anymore. That used to be me, a custodian of really advanced technology that was just too hard to use. But that's not the case for Shielding Studio. It even has built-in data analysis tools, so you can design your environment, simulate radiation interacting within that environment, and analyse results all for one price. I've already shown that this technology has value at the design stage of systems and devices such as imaging equipment that use radiation. Now I want you to use it to map out safe areas when using that imaging equipment, or when you're handling radioactive materials, or even when treating radioactive patients. When we can see radiation, we're much safer around it, especially when the doses are low. Finally, I want you to tell me about how you use radiation. Are you exposed to it? Do you want to minimize your exposure and produce safety documents that clearly illustrate areas to avoid? Chronic exposure of very low doses of radiation over a career represents a risk that can be minimized. If that's you, please message me or send me an email. G'day, my name's Christopher Poole. I'm a physicist and an expert in simulating radiation. This is Radiation Analytics.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you for making radiation easier to see and easier to understand, because it can be quite a complex topic to cover. Just a quick question around the radiation simulations. Do they actually replace measurement?
No, so simulation isn't a replacement for measurement. Measurement is what we rely on when we're designing systems and finally verifying them, but simulation is how we get to our final design and how we learn about how to behave around radiation.
And how do your customers know and have confidence in the fact that the results from Shielding Studio are correct?
So we're always verifying as we go. We search the literature for publications that include measured data simulating or characterizing certain types of radiation protection scenarios. We reproduce those scenarios with Shielding Studio and compare our measurements directly, our calculations rather, directly to those measurements.
Okay, and knowing that the simulations occur very, very quickly, why do they need to be run in the cloud versus on a desktop?
So we have two solutions there. We have rapid calculations that we can perform on a laptop or a desktop computer to give you a feel for what's going on. And for high resolution simulations, so for example, simulating an entire mine site or something like that, we can run those simulations in the cloud at a more rapid pace.
Fantastic. Thank you, Chris. And for anyone in the audience that wants to connect with Chris after the pictures, stick around and join him for the virtual networking via the Zoom link, which we posted in the comments below. I'd now like to introduce you to our next founder for this evening, Dr. David Shahar, founder of Dr. Posture. Dr. Shahar is a doctor of chiropractic and a PhD in clinical biomechanics. He has over 20 years clinical experience and realizes that poor posture is a major cause of physical pain and disability. Therefore, as a result of this, he has developed a solution, Dr. Posture. Dr. Posture provides simple and effective educational materials for posture correction and as well as products. But I'm not going to delve into that in too much detail because I'm going to introduce to you now Dr. David Shahar to tell you all about Dr. Posture.
Modern life imposes on our bodies different demands than nature intended for it. Researchers agree, poor posture is a painful and costly epidemic. It influences our appearance and quality of life, and prevention-intervention strategies are needed urgently. Costs to individuals and societies are devastating. Physical and mental ongoing healthcare expenditure, loss of income, and loss of quality of life, to name a few. Contrary to common belief, my research and clinical findings have shown that substantial, pervasive, and preventable bone and joint decay may develop silently from an early age. For example, recently, a 14-year-old, Sarah, came to my office together with her mom. Sarah said that she has been suffering from upper and lower back pain for quite some time, and recently the pain became so severe she had a consultation with a surgeon to consider her options. In assessing Sarah's posture, I have discovered that Sarah is carrying her head forward significantly, and as a compensatory mechanism, she shifts her chest and lower back backwards. A radiographic assessment revealed a compression fracture in her thoracic spine. That vertebrae literally have crumbled as a result of the excessive stress at the front of the spine. This problem that is usually seen with the elderly population is now becoming more common with young adults. The most common issue with poor posture these days is carrying of our head too far forward. When the head is carried in front of the body, we need to balance our body weight by shifting our chest and lower back backwards. This creates stiffness at the back of the neck, in between the shoulder blades, compression of the abdominal and chest organs, as well as compression of the lower back, resulting in back pain and sometimes sciatica. Musculoskeletal disorders are costing dearly. Unfortunately, available solutions are ineffective, impractical, difficult to implement, invasive, and expensive. Sarah is still very young. How can we help Sarah avoid invasive procedures or taking medications for the rest of her life with a practical way that is going to improve her posture and safeguard against further decay? Reform or deform? A mechanical problem deserves a mechanical solution. The thoracic pillow is an effective and practical posture correction device. It can also be used for prevention intervention. It is affordable and adjustable to fit most people. It tractions all regions of the spine simultaneously, and in only 10 minutes a day, you can reset your posture. The thoracic pillow is a TGA-approved Class 1 medical device. The thoracic pillow is an effective, practical, simple, and easy-to-use posture correction device. It tractions all regions of the spine simultaneously, and it is adjustable to fit most people. It may help you decrease the hump at the upper back, look taller and thinner, look smarter and more confident. It may help you age more successfully and add to your quality of life. More than 1,000 thoracic pillows were sold to date, and in 2019, the prestigious orthopedic journal Spine published a clinical trial proving that plastic structural changes and reduction in patient symptoms were achieved within 12 weeks of using of the thoracic pillow. To help people better manage and understand their posture, we have created an app and a website, drposture.com. In the recent weeks, due to COVID-19, many individuals are now working from home and studying from home, which means that their posture may have been compromised due to the lack of adequate ergonomic means. There have never been a better time to invest in posture. If you are interested in growing with Dr. Posture, please contact me. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Can you tell us why now was the right time for this product?
I think that over the last 2 decades, the issue of poor posture has been becoming more and more severe. Every day I see in my clinic people suffer unnecessarily from pain and damage, specific damage to their spine that they could have avoided altogether. And with the right education and with the right products, they can prevent these issues from happening. Now, of course, with COVID-19, people are also studying from home and working from home. And as a result of that, I see an increase in complaints at my office, upper back pain, neck pain, and headaches, and so forth.
I've actually been meaning to call you to get one, so I'll talk about that afterwards. But we do have another question from the audience around the product. Can you talk to us about the product and whether it's soft, whether it's comfortable, how does it feel?
So it's not soft. It's also not very rigid. It's not like a stone. We need to conform to it instead of it conforming to us, so it cannot be too soft. Most individuals, including people who suffer from pain, when they're on the product, they feel all right. It takes a little time to get used to it. You don't sleep on it, of course, so it's only 10 minutes a day. And some people can straight away do a 10-minute a day session, and some people have to start slowly and get used to it. But regardless, I get it from our patients. It really changes their quality of life.
And just one last quick question. Does the app track posture progress?
At the moment, it doesn't. At the moment, it provides exercises and most importantly, reminders to improve posture. So through the education program that goes along with the thoracic pillow, individuals get the reminder, and so they can mind their posture on a regular intervals throughout the day. They can dictate what intervals those are going to be. But certainly, this is the next stage.
Thank you, David. And you've got a few questions there, so if there's anyone in the audience that wants to connect with David afterwards, please do. He's a wealth of knowledge and he'd be very excited to talk to all of you.
Thank you.
I'd like to introduce our next founder for this evening. Maya. Maya is an accredited dietitian, nutritionist with over 30 years experience. Since graduating, Maya has worked in many areas of dietetics, including hospital, private and community practice, as well as in research. Maya is passionate about nutrition, technology, and how both can be used to enhance how professionals support their clients to attain great long-term health outcomes efficiently and effectively. So please welcome Maya to talk about her startup, Nero Resources.
Hello, my name is Maya McColm and I'm the founder of Nero Resources. My story is that I've been a dietitian for more than 30 years. I get great job satisfaction in seeing my clients get positive health outcomes by changing their diets. Some clients, such as John, who's had diabetes or has diabetes and was suffering from tiredness and depression and general poor health, to becoming a bastion of healthiness and fitness by changing his diet. I also know from my experience and my extensive market research that my colleagues have the same passion about getting positive health outcomes with their clients. Now, we've all heard that we are what we eat. In fact, research shows that 80% of all chronic diseases are due to poor diets. And there's so much nutrition information and misinformation out there that often our clients don't know which road to take. Dietitians are the ones that are most skilled and trained in providing evidence-based dietary education. But currently, we use wordy handouts and hand drawings, and these are often discarded when the clients leave my office or when they're discharged from hospital. And as a profession, we need quality resources that are reliable and responsible. We need the technology to support the dietitians to use these resources. We need this technology now more than ever while leaning on telehealth services. This technology is Nero. Nero stands for Nutrition Education Resources Online. Nero resources include nutrition education videos. These are rather than the hand drawings and the fact sheets. Video education is great for the visual learner. Nero not only has great videos for nutrition education, it also uses the principles of flipped classroom. Flipped classroom means that a client can begin their education prior to their consultation with the professional or the dietitian. Studies have shown that using flipped classroom results in better learning outcomes for the client while reducing the consultation time, therefore increasing the efficiency. So how does Nero use flipped classroom? Well, when a client comes to make an appointment to see the dietitian sends a link to the client to download onto their mobile device. It is download their free client app. And using this free client app, the client can begin their nutritional assessment. They can commence their nutrition education. They can choose from the many therapeutic recipes for whatever their dietary requirements are, and they can access the Nero store. The Nero store has evidence-based items such as books and recipe books, measuring equipment, meal replacements, etc. And they can do all of this prior to their appointment with the professional. Using the free client app, the client can monitor their own health progress. They can monitor changes in their blood glucose levels if they have diabetes. They can monitor changes in cholesterol if they've got heart disease, changes in weight if they need to gain or lose weight depending on their health goals. And research shows that clients that are able to monitor their own health progress tend to get a better long-term compliance. The professionals can also use this data to assess how effective their service is, and they can also use this client data when communicating to other health professionals, such as referring doctors. The Nero business model is based on professional monthly subscriptions as well as store sales from the Nero store. Our initial end user is 7,000 dietitians in Australia, with a global rollout of 170,000 dietitians. As mentioned, Nero is perfectly poised for telehealth services and is a must for all new graduates. We piloted Nero for approximately 3 months to rave reviews. We're currently in the process of editing Nero based on the feedback from those reviews. The edits will be completed and Nero will be ready for launch by June 2020. Many of the dietitians that were involved in the pilot are hammering to get a hold of Nero. They want it back and we want to get it to them. And I would like to continue this conversation with any startup investors to raise seed capital for scaling the post-product launch. This would include $170,000 for marketing and sales, as well as any health professionals willing to incorporate Nero into their health service. In closing, Nero technology takes your nutrition practice to another level and it drives up the curve for productivity and effectiveness. For more information, and if you'd like to contact me and to get on board, my contact details are on this slide. Thank you.
Thank you, Maya. Are you able to tell us a little bit more about how the Nero Resources tool will help support new graduates in the field?
Sure, great question, Zoe. Tamara, when graduates, there's jobs are quite limited at the moment for new graduates, and often they have to go into private practice. And one of the problems when you go into private practice, you might work in different places, so you've got to carry your resources around with you. And by having Nero, you have all the evidence-based resources, you have the videos, you can start your education, you can provide a quality and professional service. And it's particularly great for new graduates where you don't often have the confidence when you first come out of university. So it's just a great resource for anybody that comes out.
And as Nero Resources is video-based education, can you tell us what types of videos you have on the platform?
Sure. The videos cover most aspects of dietetics, across the board. So most of my clients that I have seen throughout my practice, I have covered all of those videos. Those topics, they are quite general because, as we know, facts about dietetics change. It's a fluid science, and therefore it's hard to change videos, but they are basic so that they provide evidence-based information to get the client started so they have a good understanding of the relationship between nutrition and health, and that supports them to get on the way. And it also provides a great service that the clients that I've spoken to that use the videos seem very grateful, because sometimes they seem like they've understood what you're saying, but having video education really does support the learning process for the clients.
Fantastic. Thank you, Maya. And for those of you in the audience that would like to connect with Maya after the pictures, please stick around and look for the Zoom link in the comments, and you'll be able to talk to her during the virtual networking. Now, I'd like to introduce you to our final founder for tonight. Right before we bring in our surprise guest speaker at the end. And I'd like to introduce you to the founder of Heroes, Elliot. Elliot has been deaf in both ears all of his life, allowing him to see the world around him very differently to most of us and approach challenges in unique ways. With a games design background, he is fascinated about how we can learn new things through play and gamification. One of his favourite quotes is by Dr. Seuss. Why fit in when you were born to stand out? Please welcome Elliot to talk to you this evening about Heroes.
Hi everyone, my name's Elliot and I'm the CEO at Heroes. At Heroes we help those with hearing loss to new sound and confidence.
Can you hear my voice now? Yeah? What about Mom's voice?
Can you hear my voice?
Yes.
Imagine the happiness, excitement and freedom of being able to hear sounds around you for the first time like Mary. Being deaf all my life, I've had a very similar experience to Mary when I received an implant in 2013. I'll always remember the time shortly after my implant and I was jogging down the street and I noticed a sound I couldn't identify. It wasn't until I got home later that day I realised it was the coins in my pocket. It's an amazing milestone receiving an implant, but it's really only the first part of the journey, because then there's the process of training your brain to interpret and identify what sounds mean. It's like trying to drive a sports car when you don't have a license or you've never driven a car before. This isn't just something that Mary or myself experienced, but also others around the world. In Australia, there's 3.7 million with a hearing loss and 360 million globally. The World Health Organization estimates that there's 1.1 billion at risk of losing their hearing. The social and economic cost per year for those with hearing loss is huge. In Australia, which is our beachhead market, the estimated cost is roughly 33.3 billion. In the US, being 270 billion and 750 billion globally. In many cases, the largest expenditure from these total costs is the value of the loss of well-being. For example, in Australia, the value of the loss of well-being is estimated at 17.4 billion, or roughly 52% of the 33 billion in total cost per year. So what's the problem? Like with all training and rehabilitation, it's very important to understand the progress that you're making. In many cases, it's quite challenging for recipients to have access to certain training materials, and when they do, it's often a blanket and cumbersome experience, resulting in very limited understanding in their unique hearing journey. So we had a look at what's currently available on the market, and aside from face-to-face, there's other options like CDs, worksheets, and computer desktop software, which still don't address the problem overall of accessibility and a dynamic experience to help recipients make the most of their ongoing hearing progress. So we've come up with a solution, and our solution is an app called Heroes, which is engaging, portable, and dynamic. It contains over 40 gamified activities focusing on key and specific proven modules in auditory training. This allows the recipient to train anywhere at any time, as well as focus on challenges specifically tailored for them. The kind of tools we're building is very motivating and it's changing people's everyday lives for the better. We've had some amazing traction over the last 6 months, with activities being played over 40,000 times, the daily average session being over 15 minutes, and we've found that 78% of users have been improving in their area of challenge, roughly around their third session. This is an increase of 7 times accelerated learning compared to traditional methods. In fact, a couple of days ago, I received an update from a lady who'd been using Heroes, who mentioned that her ability to understand speech with an implant went from 0 to 96% in 6 months, which is incredible. Part of our success with Heroes is through collaboration with different organisations, such as non-for-profit, for-profit, and government, who have all found benefits in using Heroes. Around the business, we're introducing a subscription model for individuals, followed by businesses, and then paid per research option for research organisations. We're also in the process of applying for NDIS to make Heroes even more accessible. We have a very exciting roadmap ahead, with scaling to new markets such as education in Australia and our next beachhead market in the US, helping us reach 10,000 users. In light of COVID-19, we have ramped up development and currently building a clinician platform to help everyone maximise outcomes anytime, anywhere, together. But we need your help to scale. We're currently raising $250,000 as well as seeking partnerships to join us in this next exciting milestone. So if you're a clinician in audiology or speech pathology or a very similar field, we'd love to have a chat with you. Thank you everyone. My name's Elliot from Heroes, and let's work together to help those like Mary turn hearing loss into a hearing gain and help her identify the hearing world around her. Thank you.
Thank you, Elliot. It's incredibly impressive what you've built and how much this can help patients. I was wondering if you can speak a little to how this application can really support patients living in rural and regional areas.
Sorry, it dropped out a bit then.
So I hope everyone can hear me now. The first question that I had for you, Elliot, is how your technology can support patients in rural and regional areas.
That's a very good question, Tamara. And one of the things that we've found is that looking at regional areas such as Townfield, they have such a large catchment area. And so, for example, they look at recipients in far north Queensland, all the way down to Rockhampton, and then out west to Mount Isa. And so one of the amazing things about that is that Heroes has been able to help provide and strengthen the clinical service that they provide to a larger geolocation. And the other interesting thing is that we've been receiving a lot of feedback from our clinicians and recipients also in light of COVID-19 who may not be in rural areas but have certain conditions at the moment where they may not be able to travel as much. And so we've been able to provide services to both the clinician and recipient in those areas.
Fantastic. And one of the questions I've received for you is, have you conducted clinical trials to date? And what are your thoughts around future trials for this product? I'll just repeat the question. One of the questions that we've received is, have you conducted any clinical trials to date? And what are your plans for any potential future trials for this product?
Oh, it's cutting out a lot.
That's okay. We can hear you now.
With the clinical trial, we are looking at doing clinical trials and talking to a number of different auditory training organisations, as well as universities such as UQ. And we feel that we can provide a tremendous collaboration and contribution to research as well.
Fantastic. So for any of you in the audience that would like to connect with Elliot after this part of the event wraps up, please look out for his Zoom link in the comments, and you can connect with Elliot directly if you have any further questions or interested in collaborations. So we're nearing the end of the formal part of this event. Thank you, Elliot. We are nearing the end of the formal part of the event. Before moving on to the virtual networking. And before we move on to that and have our surprise guest speaker, I just wanted to say that it's been an extremely inspiring experience working with all of the founders. And as you can see from the pictures that they've shared tonight, they have put so much work and effort into building these businesses. And we look forward to seeing them continue to grow and move from success to success over the coming months and years. And I would like to say a big thank you to the Innovation Centre at the Sunshine Coast for giving Impact Health the opportunity to work with them to build and deliver the Australian Health Accelerator program. This program is the first of its kind in Queensland. It's the only accelerator program that is dedicated to supporting founders and startups that specialise in the health sector and wellbeing sector. We've worked with over 20 companies to date, and we look forward to working with many more. And we believe it's extremely important to be working alongside founders to support them on the journey for building new health innovations and getting them into market and making them accessible to patients and carers as rapidly as possible. So before we wrap up, I want to hand back over to Renee, who'll be doing a few little thank yous before we move on to the virtual networking. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Tamara, and congratulations to our cohort. Now for our final guest speaker for this evening, a lady who does not need much introduction whatsoever. I'm going to hand it over to Queensland's Chief Entrepreneur, Leanne Kemp.
It's a shattering time right now with COVID, and as we start to think about coming out of recovery, whether it's med tech, health tech, and even COVID tech, there's no important time than right now to get behind the solutions to the challenges that we all face. Congratulations and thank you for spending so much time in investing in our future. We're going from a health pandemic to a health crisis into an economic crisis. We're all raveled up like cooked spaghetti.
Thank you, Leanne. Always short, concise, and oozing energy. It takes a community to build a startup and to deliver a program like the Australian Health Accelerator. This project is supported by the Australian Government's Department of Industry, Innovation and Science through the Incubator Support Initiative funding as part of the Entrepreneurs Program. Their commitment of $110,000 over the last 2 years has provided 20 health startups with the skills, connections and opportunities they need to take their business to the next level. On this note, I would like to do a final thanks to a few key people. We have our Program Director, Tamara Mills. We have our Program Manager, Zoe. We have our guest speaker for this evening, Adam Benjamin from MediFarm, and of course, Anton Senka from the Sunshine Coast Health Institute. We have Oz Industry, which is the Australian Government Department, which I just acknowledged. We have our silver funding partner, Script, also known as the Sunshine Coast Regional Innovation Pipeline Team. We have the Sunshine Coast Health Institute, Impact Health, Redship Lawyers, Rugby Consulting, the University of the Sunshine Coast, and Innovate Media. You would have seen in the pictures today that each of our founders have grit, resiliency, and determination, and have done an amazing job to build businesses during this time, right now. On behalf of the Innovation Centre team, it has been a privilege to have a seat on the rocket ships these founders have been building over the months. I hope you get the chance to work with them also. If you have any questions about the Innovation Centre Sunshine Coast, the Australian Health Accelerator, or the cohort in particular, feel free to reach out to us via ic@innovationcentre.com.au. For any health innovators that are following along, expressions of interest are currently open for the delivery of our next Health Accelerator. So be sure to check our website for that one. And for those following along, please be sure to click on the comments below where we will have the Zoom link details, which you can follow along, and you can connect with our founders immediately and get to know them better. So now it's my absolute distinct pleasure to close the Australian Health Accelerator Demo Day for 2020.